Well, hi there. The purpose of this video is to give a bit of an introduction to different ways of doing coding in an increasingly generative AI and agentic world. In the recent working party meetings, I said I'd commit to sharing tips and tricks on how to use agentic coding tools, encouraging people to use them. And I wasn't expecting that to be as difficult as it's proved to be. The main reason that it's difficult is the world is changing so quickly, and the providers of agentic tools have been recently quite restrictive in the tooling or the cost of their tools, i.e. costs are going up or usage is going down and tools are constantly evolving. So I've changed my mind a little bit on what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus less on agentic tools, simply because it's changing so fast that by the time you use this, it'll be out of date. And really focus on telling the story of how things are changing. And the idea being that if you're in an early phase, you're aware of the later ones, and that will encourage you to move to those later phases. Right? So how have I gone about doing this? And what are we going to do? Well, I'm going to use the SPLICE dataset, the SPLICE tool rather, to create a dataset for us for our work. And I want to create multiple datasets. And we're going to do that three ways. The traditional way we would have used before AI, where you open up an IDE and you code away, maybe using the internet for help when you get stuck on syntax. Then we'll use maybe an LLM to give us to ask questions of it. So we'll jump out of our IDE, go to the web and an LLM and ask it questions and cut and paste between the two. Try that method. And then we'll use the third method, which is probably the modern method, is to use an agentic coding tool within our IDE and ask that to write the code for us. So we won't write code. We will just orchestrate something else writing code. Right? So I'm going to try those three things. Now, I've started off by trying to get a bit of an idea using AI. That tends to be the way I do anything. I have a preference for Gemini these days. I'm in the free Gemini. See, it wants me to upgrade here. But I just said to it, look, I want to create a tutorial on learning to code in Python. I want to give a bit of history on how it's changing. Three methods I've just spoke about. How does that sound? Well, would you add any suggestions? I've put it in Gemini so that it can structure it for me, and then I can talk a bit about it. So it says it's a fairly good idea. And it's done a nice little table which shows how things are moving. You've got the three different methods: manual first principles, assistive, co-pilot, and then agentic. And it's interesting to show the different roles. In the old way of doing it, your role was the author. There was no AI. You would use a variety of tools. You'd Google stuff, Stack Overflow. And the core skill was you had to remember the syntaxes in the language you were using, and you had to work out all the logical flow and everything. So you had a lot of control. If you use the middle method, where you're using large language models to assist you, you are the editor of the code, the conductor. You make a lot of the suggestions and give direction. The AI's role is just to fill in and respond to your questions, right? It's not in control. You're in control of the AI. The tooling you'd use for that would be things like ChatGPT or a large language model that you can chat to, or early versions of GitHub Copilot, which are also inline conditions. The skill you had to have is prompting and reviewing code, right? And going around that iterative loop. The third version, and this is the one I want you to be aware of and increasingly encourage you to try, is the agentic method. And you use your IDE, your coding environment, you enable agentic tools within it. And your role then becomes to specify what you want the agents to do. The AI does autonomously does the coding, the preparation, the design, the running, and reports back to you. The tools you use are slightly different. There's a whole raft of agentic tools with names like Cursor and Windsurf for the early ones, but Claude Code, Codex, Anti-Gravity is another one. Have I missed off one? No doubt I have. A whole load of tools that you can use and are becoming very popular, very, very fluid, changing lots at the moment. But the core skill you have as the human is to set the design. You're an architect. You design. You set the requirements for the thing you want the agents to do, and you test it. You will either test it or review the test output that the AI has produced to check it is performing the way you want. All right. So initial point here, the takeaway is be aware of these three different ways of coding, doing software engineering, and be aware that this Agentic IDE is the bleeding edge now, and where a lot of effort is going in. Significant change has happened in a very short amount of time. If you're still doing stuff by first principles, you're probably missing out on a lot of opportunities. You probably want to be going into this second phase and being aware of the third phase. If you're in the second phase, you probably want to start trying the third phase, right? If you're in the third phase all along, this video is of no use to you. Right? You're already there. Okay. So I'm going to pause now, and what we'll do is start with 1, go to 2, go to 3, using SPLICE as an example. See you soon. Right, well, let's get on with step 1 of creating some SPLICE datasets using no AI. Now, what I've done is in a folder on my machine, I've created 3 subfolders underneath a coding demo folder. Number 1, no AI, number 2, GPT AI, and number 3, Agentic AI. We're going to start with no AI. In each of these folders, I've seeded subfolders that are there to help me code. So if we go in here, I've got an inputs, a code folder, and the outputs I want to create. They're all empty. And this will be the case every time we start. Okay, with the exception of the inputs folder. And the inputs folder has got a markdown file, a basic text file that describes the task we want to do. Okay, so let's get going. I want to open up my coding environment, open up this file, this folder, that file, read what it says, and start doing the task. So positron, just starting my preferred IDE. I like to use positron. It's a fork or a version of VS Code written by the RStudio team, Posit team. Now, earlier I said I want to do a tutorial on Python coding using the SPLICE package. Of course, SPLICE is an R package, so it's going to be in the language of R. Now, let me just check. Open a folder. I think I'm already in this folder. I'm going to go to no AI. Okay, we open that up. Back where I was, but just to show. We've got this task MD. So let's look at the task as I've written it. And this is, I'm trying to sort of say that, you know, typically if you're doing a coding task, someone would have given you some rough instructions. I haven't put a lot of effort into these instructions, but hopefully it's sufficient to explain the task to us as a coder. So we're going to use the SPLICE R package. Your task is to use the SPLICE R package to create 5 data sets of increasing size. Spelling mistakes follow me everywhere. The data sets should be created using the generate datasets routine and be of type complexity equals 5 using 40 occurrence periods and a seed of 42. Now, if you've never seen SPLICE before, that's not going to mean much to you. But remember, we're in the world of being an old school programmer where you learn the syntax of the packages, right? So I've used SPLICE a little bit. That means something to me. I might have to go and look up things to get it clear, but yeah, that means something to me. So we'll read on. What differentiates each data set is the number of observations per occurrence period. Okay. So the 5 data sets should correspond to 50, 91, 52, 50, 500 observations per period respectively. Right. So I'm going to create a load of data sets with 50 observations per period, then 90, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now, for each data set, you should output 4 files in CSV format: claims, payments, incurred, and covariates. That kind of sounds familiar to me. Note the requirements also include the covariates data. Do not omit this. Okay, there's a clear hint. Don't forget the covariates. Right. So then put the output of each data set in a specific folder following the naming convention. O3 outputs XOBS per period. Oh, look at that, I've mixed underscores and dashes, that's naughty. But there you go, that's the requirement, where X is 50, 90, 152, 5500. Okie dokes. Right, so I'm fairly clear on that, quite a simple task, he says. We'll see how well I do this. Now, been given a few sources, so the source code and documentation for the package is found in GitHub, and as an example, data generating code can be found here. Oh, goody, goody, good. Right. So those two things are going to be quite helpful for me as a coder. So what I'm going to do is go to these GitHub pages, especially this data generating code, and I'm going to copy that into my code folder where I can, and we'll get going. All right. So let's flip to a browser, and I think I just prepped it. So we've got the SPLICE package here, and there's the URL to the GitHub. Oh, I've already got it open. You've already got it open, Nigel. There it is. So this is that generate datasets code. So I'm just going to go copy that, come back to positron. I'm going to go into code. Oops, we'll go into code and go new file. I just have a habit of always sequentially doing my files. I've got some create datasets.r. Right. Okay, so we've opened it up. Now, apologies. I've got an Agentic code helper already in my positron. I don't really want to turn it off. So, but I'm not going. I'll try not to use it, but it might start to code complete on my behalf. We'll ignore it if it does. So I've got that code in there. That's the example code from the package. Let's give it a save. And it's useful to read. I learn by reading what other people have done. So I'm going to have a quick whiz through here and get an idea of what's going on. And then with that basic knowledge, adapt it to do the tasks we've been told. So we've got a library SPLICE, we've got a working directory thing going on there, all looks sensible. Looks like it creates, I think, a list of data sets, and then it defines dataset 1, and that looks like a complexity 1. If end period's 40, or I remember that, number of claims 90, seed, blah, 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 datasets 2, yeah, I get it. So it's going through different datasets there, different scenarios of complexity, and then it's outputting them. So, so that looks fairly similar to what we want. But now down the bottom, there's something else that's it's got some covariates, right? And do you remember in the task MD it said I want the covariates as well? So I suspect this is nearer the code that we want than the stuff at the top. So we don't want datasets 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's take those out. I don't really want that 5. I do want this. I do want something like this one down here. So complexity. So now I just need dataset code. I'm creating one dataset at a time. In fact, yeah, just bear with me. Look, yeah, you can tell the way I code. I'm not exactly great at stuff. I'm going to take that, put that in there. So do you remember in task MD, I think it went 50, 90, 150, 250, 500, I think. So then we've got that. The end claims period is end claims. Can you see my agentic help, my code helper's helping me there? I'm ignoring it. Right, so that should create, I presume that will create a data set, and then we want my helper's helping me again, I'm ignoring it again. We want to work out a directory there. Okay, so directory, I've just got to go back to task MD and remember it. It wanted something like that. Sorry about my that's going to be better, isn't it? Hash. No, oh gosh, I'm making a bit of a mess. O3 inputs. Probably need a double dot to go up. I might get this slightly wrong, but don't worry. I typically write code that doesn't work and then fix it. Then it's nobs, is it? N claims, and then obs per period. I'm trying to ignore the helper because we said we didn't want that. Now we can get rid of all of this. Yep, it worked out there. Right, so I'm going to give us a save. It's about, it's kind of where we want it to be. I always get scared running a loop. It's bound to go wrong. So I'm going to just take this outside of the loop and see if I can get it working with one of these before I commit to everything. And claims start with 50. Sorry, I'm between languages, right? I tend to do most stuff in Python now, and of course indenting really matters in Python. It doesn't really matter so much for R, does it? So I'm going to give that a save. I'm going to run this line by line. I've already got R working and set up. It's kind of ready into my central library. So this all should work, and it should bring in. Right. I didn't need that line. So I don't need that line either looking at it. So let's do that. Let's see if we can get this to work. If it does work, it's running at the moment, we should get an object come back called dataset cov. And you can press this over here and find out what dataset cov's got in it. And it's obviously created something, which is great. We have got claim dataset payment incurred and covariates data. Claim payment incurred. Right. So what we don't have is the covariate one. What's it called? Covariates data. Covariates data. Covariates data. And paste directory. Right, I've just seen that this is a bit more complicated than we needed, but we were asked specifically to do something like that, weren't we? I will check the syntax in a minute. Next, I'll probably ask to do something like covariates. Right, let's just go and check that task MD. What did it say? Claims, payments, incurs, covariates. Yes, these. Right, 50, 90, 152, 5500. Okay. So just because I don't trust my loopy doopy, I'm just going to again pull this code out here. Directory. Okay, I've been helped by the helper there because it fixed my syntax. It was saying it had a okay. Double escape. I think I've just got my things the wrong way around. Right, so we've got directory. And I wonder whether that will write then correctly. We'll soon find out. Let's try it. If it goes wrong, cannot open connection. So look at what that goes to. Did you remember me saying that we've got to go up a folder? So it's a double. Okay, where's our current working directory? I've made a mistake. Is it get working WD? I lose track of. Okay, we're in code. Could have done without that whopping great big. I'm going to use the lazy way of doing it, right? Make my life easy. Directory. Take that out. I'm just going to wipe everything. I've done something wrong here. So let's clear everything. Start again. No such file I'll create at home. Nigel get coding 01 no AI 03 outputs. Have I misspelled outputs? No. 50 obs per period. Aha! I haven't created the folder because it's got to go into 50 obs per period. So I need to create the directory. Yeah. And I've forgotten how to make a directory. Damn, how do I do that now? I can't remember how I used to get help before AI. So we used to do Stack Overflow, didn't we? So let's go and do it. Sorry for everybody. It's going to come back with AI help. Oh no, look, yeah, look, here we go. The old way of doing things. Directory create. Right. Dear create. There's no harm, I presume, in just going dear create at every point. I've got some bit of problem going down here, so I've gone quiet. And I think that's created. Yes, there we go. We've got a file, so that's now working. Right. So we've learned a little bit. We've troubleshooted. So we're now on the end. We want the directory there. We want to create the folder. We want to generate the data sets, and I just want to check that covariates one, because that's obviously the new thing. Cannot coerce to a data frame. Covariates. Oh gosh. So we've got lots of different things here. Right. So that isn't. So what you've got is a list of 3 data frames, IDs. Right, I think we just want covariates data, dollar data. Okay. Yes. Oh, it's got column 0 in it, which is a bit silly. But you know, in the interest of time, we'll just it's probably worth dropping that. I know it in Python, but I don't know it in R because I'm so out of R practice. So I'm going to ignore that complexity and just get that down there. Dollar data. Oh, I've cheated. I've used the helper. But I think we're getting in. So. Just going slowly as I'm finishing up. Where have we got? Well, I've got 2 loops. Don't need 2 loops. Oh, damn, sorry. Right. Oh, okay. So I think that's it. I think that's all it boils down to. Let's have a quick look. Library splice for claims in each one of them. Get a folder. Create the pub. Create a directory. Create the data set. Need that twice. Create the directory, create the data set, write out the 5 data sets. Should be good. Give it a save, select it all, give it a run. So it's running. We should be able to see the files appearing. 3. Yeah. Okay, so there they are, all appearing. So it's quite a simple bit of code, made easier to code it with having that example code and that hint to go and look at that example code. So even someone who's very rusty in R like me was able to pretty quickly create that data set with no AI need. So let's stop on the no AI and come back and try it with LLM helpers by writing queries to help us write the code. Okay, see you in a few seconds. Right, well, welcome back. Now we're going to try the second way of coding, which is to use the power of large language models, GPTs, to get help with the syntax, the structure of the code. So let's, back in Positron here, let's go and open a new folder, open a folder. I want to be in the GPT AI. Yep, open that. Okay, and we should see on the inputs we've got the same task MD. So it's exactly the same task we're given. Of course, the idea here is that we aren't going to code as much. We're going to cut and paste between the GPT and ask it to code for us. All right, so I've got to be a bit careful how I do this. Let's go to code and let's start. Let's create a new file. Sorry, same again. So new file in that folder. O1 create data. Sorry, create datasets. I'm not going to get it to start doing it for me. I'm going to go into a browser and start there. I haven't practiced this, so we're going to do it first principles. Let's also get task MD open. Let's copy that whole task, and I'm going to make that my prompt. Okay, I'm going to say write some code to complete this task. Okay, I'm going to take the code and then put it in here, run it, and then we'll iterate from that. Let's see how that goes. So I need to find a web browser and go to a an LLM. Now, like I said, I tend to like using Gemini. So let's do a new chat in Gemini. Can you write R code to perform the following task? And there's my instructions. Not entirely sure whether it will be able to go and read these places. We're using Flash, which is one of the smaller models. So we're not using Pro, standard level of thinking. So we're not giving it the best chance, all right? But let's submit it and see what happens. If it doesn't quite work, we can up the level of help. It's important to note that when the GPTs first came out, they didn't have thinking. They didn't have additional, there wasn't a lot of power in them. Nowadays, they're not just LLMs. They think, they plan, they can even tool use in some cases. So the lines are blurring between Agentic and LLM, depending on what ones you use. So it's gone pretty quickly. It says here is the complete R code to perform. It's not humble, is it? Loop through the target observation counts and save the result in its respective folders. Note that SPLICE relies on its core function, commonly referred to as scripts to generate. Okay, maybe I wrote it wrongly initially. But there it is. Let's just copy all of that code. And let's go over to Positron and put it in here. Right? I guess realistically, you wouldn't just hit run on this. You would read through it and probably run it line by line if you can. So let's do it that way. So we've already probably got those two packages installed, so it shouldn't have to do anything. So it's loading synthetic and loading SPLICE, so that's done. The code creates an obs per period, a number of period complexity level, a random seed, and a base output directory. We might need to come back and fix that, I'm thinking up front, just in case you saw the mess I made in the earlier one, just in case it doesn't quite work, because it doesn't know about the structure I've necessarily got here. So then it's going to go around in a loop, and well, I can already see from my knowledge of what we did earlier that this isn't going to work because it's not got the covariates, it's not picked up the covariates part. And do you remember we saw when we did it by hand that didn't work? So I'm expecting some problems here. But let's see how we get. Let's see how far we get. If we were coming at this task cold, if we hadn't already done it ourselves by hand, we wouldn't know about these problems. So you would assume the AI was correct until you find out it's not. So let's run it and see what happens. It's going to crash pretty quickly. Or it's not going to produce the depth of output that we wanted. We will see. Okay. Well, it is producing outputs. Let's go and see what's going on. Ooh, there is a covariance. What is going to be in that covariance? Well, maybe it's found a better way of doing it than I had previously. But this is encouraging. It just shows how good the LLMs are becoming. Right, so we'll let this run for a few folders. In fact, whilst it's running, it's filling the other ones in. I'm just going to check that these are correct. So there's claims. That's looking good. Incurs is looking good from how I remember it. Payments is looking good. Just have a look at that covariance. Yeah, that's not looking good. You see it's empty. So we do have an issue there that we will need to come back and fix. All right, so where's it got to? It's doing the last one. So I suspect in each one of these, the covariance is empty. Yes, in every one of them, the covariance is empty. Now, because that's executed in a loop, we don't seem to be able to see the generated data set. This is a slight shame. It's going to make it harder for us to debug it. However, almost there. We don't get to see data set. If we could see data set, that would help us fix things. But let's see if the AI can fix itself. We want covariance data, and we're gonna say the code ran, but the output covariance data set was always empty. Can you fix this? Right, something along those lines. Back to the prompt. Apologies. Okay, so it can be error, but the covariance data was always empty. Can you troubleshoot and fix? See what it can do. Now, can you see it says it's searching the web? So this is beyond what the original LLMs were able to do. In the early days, the LLMs just knew what they knew up to their training date on their training data. Now, I seem to be encountering error. Can I try something else for you? Somewhat strange answer, so I'll give it a somewhat strange response too. I think this is not going to go well, is it? Yes, it did say searching the web, which is it's kind of a bit of a power that it's got, and some people would say that's in part agentic. Could you try again? Right, so you're giving me the task now, aren't you? So we're now starting to get some outputs. Okay, so it seems to say there's a reason why it comes back as 0. So here's a solution, and let's look. So that looks rather complex as a response from what we know. Okay, but in the real world, we wouldn't have just done the task we've done. We would just assume that's right. So I'm going to copy that code, but because I know that's not the best solution, I'm going to create a new file and put that code in a new file. I don't want to be doing that there. I'm doing it up here. Oh my word. Apologies. So there's the new code. I don't really want to be reading it and blah, blah, blah. Let's just assume it works. In fact, let me just clear everything. Delete, fresh, delete, cleared everything, and we'll just check that first bit works, and then for X in fact, let's help ourselves out here. Just make life a bit quicker. Let's try that. It's going to overwrite the folders, of course. We should have emptied the folders out first. But it says it's done. Claims parents incurred data with complexity equals 5. It says it's done them all. The slight problem is I'm not going to see whether it has or hasn't. So I think what I need to do is delete these folders. Let's go again. Let's delete the folders. Just easier to. Let's do it again. Okay, we have got a covariates. It has been created. Let's go and have a look at it. Okay. I thought there were more than one covariate in the covariates data set. So, because there was age. If you look at the complexity, the default thing, I think it was age, legal representation, and severity. So what it's done here is make its own covariates, I think, as opposed to follow the default covariates, which was implied by the task, because if you remember, we referenced a generate data sets. So I think it's doing something that works, but it's not what we implicitly required. So let me go back to the prompt, and I need this task MD. And in fact, let me just go back to the one we know that worked and just check. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to go to my folders and no AI and look at the outputs and just remind myself what covariates look like. We've got 3 of them. We had 3. Yes or no, injury severity, and age. So we only had 3, and maybe it's not wrong then. No, we've only got 2. Right. Okay. So this is not what we intended. Okay, and that's because it's not really picked up this piece of code. So I'm going to try and point it towards that code and say, no, I want the covariates as done in this code. Okay, so that ran and produced some covariates. However, they are not the covariates intended. To the original script, but add the covariates as done in this R script. Oh, sorry, I'm not typing very well here. Cool. All right, see if it gets that. We might run into problems. I think America's online and the bandwidth of all these things goes down when the Western Hemisphere wakes up. You see we're running out of problems, so we're going to press redo. Try again. You going to come up with an answer or not? So a quick look at it. So it's come up with an answer. No, it's still got it wrong. It's still got it wrong. It's doing something that's okay, but it's not the intent. Right. So we know that's not the intent. So we're going to go back and know that is still not what was intended. Let's make it a bit more explicit. Use the, I can't remember what it is. There we go. So last hint, if this doesn't work, I will stop. So we spent more time now than we yeah, my apologies. Yes, thank you, sir. Okay, we might be on the right. Yeah, that's looking good. Yeah, it's going to have a problem because that's not going to output, but we're getting close now. So you're seeing some of the problems with LLMs. If you know nothing, they get you started, but they often don't get you to the end point. And you probably spend more time correcting their misunderstandings than you would have done had you put all of the investment up front and wanted to code. Yeah, but they have their uses. So I'm going to go back to this first one because I think we're getting pretty close now. Or Control V, Control Save. We're going to throw that one away. Don't save. I'm going to get rid of that because that was well off the mark. I'm going to delete these folders. Now we're going to go select all, and we're going to, let's just clear out over here, just so we make sure we've got a completely clear. Right, now we'll run that, and we'll see what it does. Right, 50 ops per thingy. Quickly, claims is there, incurreds is there, payments is there. What's covariates got in it? Still 0, right? So this is the problem I hit myself early on. Covariates is still 0, and that's because you have to go covariates dataset, right? It's not worked out the formatting of covariates dataset. So I suspect we're going to be stuck. We're not really going to get this LLM to realize its error because it can't see it. Okay, it's making up stuff, but it's not running the code, observing, and then correcting. It doesn't have that capability to run the code itself and observe its own error. Right, so that's onus is put onto us. And this is the benefit of the agentic tools. They can take a task, run the code, fix their errors, and do that loop for you. So I hope when we put this in Agentic, you'll see a difference. Okay. Yeah. All we would have had to do is, we would have had to, it's almost run, hasn't it? What we would have to do really to correct this is to make a minor change to the code. Yeah. We would have probably realized I think it was data. So I think that's what one would need to do. And let's just confirm. So I think we get to the point of AI gets us so far, but not quite there. I'm going to stop that running. It takes quite a while to do the 500. Delete the 50, and it's going to run 50, right? So all of that run. So it's done correctly. And we've still got a 0. So we've done something wrong. Covariates, dataset, data. That's what I want to output. Have I just done something wrong here? It misspelt it. You see it's called covariates data and it is written covariate. So it's not entirely unheard of. Again, it can't run and check. So this is the weakness of just using LLMs. It can't actually check its own work. Just pure ChatGPT LLMs. So I'm hoping now that covariates has got some covariate data in it. I'm still struggling. Okay, well look, let's not keep going around this loop. Let's conclude by saying we got so far, but not to the complete end. Yet it did quite a lot that was helpful. If we'd never used the SPLICE package before, we would have been able to troubleshoot it from this. But the warning is it misunderstood and made it overly complex, and you can sometimes get trapped in overly complex code. I've seen that many a time. One of the weaknesses of the LLMs, you get going quickly, but then you get into a bit of a mess that you later on spend a lot of time having to fix. That's the weakness of the LLM ChatGPT type approach. All right, let's stop there, and then we'll come back in a few seconds using Agentic only and see how that compares. All right, see you soon. Right, well, hello again. We're going to now jump to the Agentic method, but I was confused as to why I didn't get it working, and I just found why. So let me just do that. This said covariates dataset, and if you widen this over here, you can see it's covariates data. If you remember, I observed that when I was doing it by hand. So that was my mistake. We should find if we run this now. So covariates data, not covariate data set. That's what the AI produced. Me as a human in a rush didn't fix it. But as soon as I pressed stop on record, I realised what happened. And now there's your covariates, right? So yeah, we were one syntax error away from having that working. The LLM was, all right, after 3 iterations. So yeah, that's that one. Let's get back to the agentic one. So we are going to save that one. We're going to go open a folder, and now we're going to go into the agentic AI world. Open. Right. So no code, no outputs, just the inputs, TaskMD. So quick, I'm using Positron, and I have connected to Positron, which is a variant of VS Code. I've connected a chat interface, and I've set it up so that it can use my GitHub Copilot account. And my GitHub Copilot account, let's just go to the browser. Sorry, I go to these a strange way, but GitHub Copilot account, Copilot settings. So I have GitHub Copilot licensed. It's set up to work in my IDE. I've linked it to my Positron IDE. I get a certain number of requests that I can use, and it's got certain capabilities, including agentic capabilities, and the browser allows me to use those agentic capabilities. Right? And I have to pay for that service. So, I don't pay a lot. So I think I pay £10 a month. Or £100 a year, I think is the way I do it. But they've stopped people signing up to that in the last month. I think they've stopped it because demand is so high that they can't meet that demand. So they're choking off the demand by, well, so they're stopping that so they can fire up more servers, I guess. They've also restricted the amount that you can use it. This is the problem. It's a very useful tool, but we're too useful, I guess, is the upshot of it. But yeah, you can go and get your browser and connect it to an agentic tool. I'm just basically showing you that I'm using, I've got GitHub Copilot going on behind the scenes. Right. So I'm in here and I want to add some context. So I should be able to add a file. Whoops, I did that too quickly, didn't I? Oh no, that's fine, inputs. Right, now what is in inputs? Let me just see. It's TaskMD, right? So let's go back to my chat. So look, TaskMD sets out a coding task. Can you read the instructions and create an R script in the folder O2 code called crazy that solves the task? Okay, so I'm just telling it to do something. I just need to make sure I've got an agent so it can do it, troubleshoot, and fix. I don't just want it to ask or edit or plan. Okay, it's going to select what agents it uses. Okay, because it's cheaper, but there's a number of them available. let's see how we go. See what happens. And what you immediately see, it starts working. Okay, I'm going to read the instructions. Then I'm going to create to match them exactly. After writing it, I'll quick sanity check for obvious issues. Okay, I've got the requirements. Next, I'll check the workspace. See, it's giving you some help. Right? Now, there's a few controls and guardrails. So here it's saying, look, can you give me permission to go to the web page? All right, so I'm going to allow that. Okay, so it wants to, it's approved to result, it wants to allow, okay, let's go for it. It wants to run that code, I think. So we'll allow that. It's checking again to go to GitHub and review things. So I'm going to go allow. So it's, you can see how this is, it's not just the LLM, it's the LLM working out what it needs to do and asking permission to go and do the things that we were doing earlier. It's going to the web page, it's looking at the code, it's going to try and run bits, it's going to iterate around and check. Okay, so it's got the stuff. It's going to now create a script to create the files. Well, this is going well if it works. Okay, it's now going to, it's asking for permission to run the script that it's written. So we're going to go allow. So now, okay, do you want me to, yeah, I want, what have I misunderstood? What has it actually produced it? So I'm a bit confused as to what it said. It hasn't run it yet, so it was asking me, I need to read. Created the script. So here's the script it's created. Oh, look, it's done that. It's done that bit. Has it written them correctly? Oh, no, it's not. Yes, so I think it's not going to quite work. I think it's got that wrong. But let's give it a chance to check. So let's keep that file. And it's asking me, yes, yes, run the script to check if all is working. Okay, let's see if it'll do that. So let's look up in here before. Right, and great. So it's come up with an error. Can you see it can't coerce? It's seen that covariance data problem that I saw first when I did it by hand. All right, so it's observed that. What can it do now? Yes, so it wants to understand what's gone wrong. So let's allow whatever that is. I'm pressing the buttons. There you go. It's run it, and that's exposed a problem, and it's realised that it's an object that can't be written as a data frame. I'll patch the script to extract a Tableau component safely, then rerun and confirm all outputs. Great. So it's worked that out. So let it give it permission to go and do that. There you go. That looks like it will work actually. So slightly different way of doing it, but just think it's a different syntax. Let's go keep. Allow. Now I'm the one pressing all the buttons. I can't keep up with it. But notice I haven't written anything, and I haven't had to tell it where it's going wrong or ask it to correct things. It has worked all that out itself. And so this agentic approach can be very powerful. Right? You as the user, remember that first slide at the beginning, you're the director, the architect, and it does all the hard work of doing the coding and running around fixing things and observing. So it looks like that's running. I might be able to go and tell if it's working, because it may have run some of these. So, yeah, it has worked. There you go. So I hopefully this shows you the power of agentic coding assistants if you can use them. This is a very trivial example. Their power is multiplied far more when you get complex code repositories. Yeah, because you can when you this is a fairly trivial task that we were able to do as a human. But when repositories get very, very big, your ability to remember everything in them as a human becomes gets stretched. But of course, these things have much better memories and speed than we have, so that's often their benefit. So I hope there's 250 being created. Let's go back to the chat and see what it says. It's probably waiting. It's just waiting for everything to be created, but it's worked. We've got a code repository that's sorted itself, and I haven't written any code at all, none at all. I've just given it some instructions and given it the ability to use the tools it wants to use. Right? Looks like it's going through and looking at each of those data sets now. Yeah, so it's edited it, ran it end to end, and it's working now. Okay. All the files now. So look at it. It's actually marked its own homework. All right. So yeah, I could. You see, it's quite very helpful. But there we go. That's it. That's it done. I'm intrigued. I noticed it's changed. It's gone from auto and it's changed to GPT 5.3 codex in the moment. So yeah, there you go. There's the agentic method. So look, I hope you found this helpful. Let's just jump back to the original prompt that I had, and just remind ourselves of this as a quick summary. So 3 ways of coding, right? Don't use any AI at all. You're the author. You've got to use things like Stack Overflow, you saw us use, and Google search. You've got to know the syntax and everything. All right, so if all of the onus is on you as a human. The middle ground, if you've not seen Agentic, is to instead of sending your queries to Stack Overflow, send them to a GPT. Take the output, run it in your IDE, observe the error, ask it to correct it, and you've seen that can be a little bit going around the loop and going, digging a bigger hole for yourself sometimes. So yeah, it was useful, but sometimes not. But hopefully you've seen how an agentic enabled IDE does truly enable you to produce code artifacts without ever touching code. And I hope you saw that was quick. Yeah, that was as quick as me doing it by hand. Yeah. So there we go. Hopefully that's a useful intro for you, and look forward to seeing what you can do with tools like this. All right. Thanks ever so much for your attention. See you soon.